All right, friends, let's talk about something every project manager needs to hear. Whether you're actively interviewing for a project manager role or you're just keeping your options open, this is very important. The topic today is project manager interview red flags. I coach a lot of project managers through this, and one thing I always tell them is this: you're not just being interviewed, you're also interviewing them too. And the moment you forget that, you miss major signs that a role might probably drain you, it might stunt your growth, or it might set you up for failure. Welcome back to the Project Manager Connect Show. I am your host, Anna Anderson. I'm a project manager by profession, a PMP trainer, and a project management career coach. I help people like you transition into project management and also pass their PMP on their first try. And so today I'm going to talk about a topic that I've been talking about with a lot of my clients, and we're going to break down 7 biggest red flags I see in project management interviews, the ones my clients have experienced, the ones I have personally lived through, and the ones you should not ignore. So this is the first red flag. When you go into an interview and they cannot explain the project, you start with maybe the classic, you ask them a question like, can you tell me more about this project? And they respond with something like, well, it's a kind of a mix of things. We are still figuring things out. There's a lot going on. Listen, if leadership cannot explain the goal, if leadership cannot explain the timeline or why the project even is existing, that's not creativity. That's going to be just chaos from day one. So a project manager can absolutely, of course, bring that clarity, but you should not walk into an interview feeling like you're already inheriting a mess no one wants to claim, for example. So if the project isn't clear, you need to know what decisions are already made. You also need to know who owns vision? Like, what does success look like in this role? Because you always have to ask that question at the end of the interview. If they answer or if they cannot answer, that's a major, major red flag. So that was the first one. So the second red flag here is they want a project manager. They want a business analyst. They want a scrum master. They want a QA analyst. They want a firefighter. What do you want? You've seen this kind of job description before. It's the one that says we need a project manager who can also run QA, who can build dashboards, who can write technical requirements, who can manage vendors, who can code in Python. I myself, I don't even know how to do anything in a programming language, who can carry the weight of the organization, and who can deliver miracles by Friday. Okay, the last two. I was kind of exaggerating, but it feels like it. So here's the truth. When a company stacks multiple full-time roles into one job, it's not because you're special. Trust me. It's because they're under-resourced. And maybe that's not a good sign. So that usually means you're probably going to be burnt out. These no boundaries because they're expecting you to do a lot of things. These unclear expectations and probably no authority to go with all those responsibilities. And so it's important for you to ask them directly. Again, what does success look like in the first 90 days? If they list 50,000 things, please run, because I did have a client who actually ran because she got in because she was desperate for a role. But when she got in, it was not giving her joy. She was not doing her best work. She was struggling because of all these responsibilities. All right. The third red flag here is they talk about the team, but they talk about the team with a tone. I always listen to how people talk about their team. If a hiring manager starts venting or maybe throwing some type of shade, well, the team struggles with accountability, or we've had issues with communication, or people here don't always follow process. That tells you, as of someone who's interviewing, they are not owning leadership issues. They are warning you that you're walking into some type of dysfunction. So a healthy leader or a healthy leader will say things like, here's what we're working on as a team and how we support each other. So pay attention to their tone, pay attention to what they don't say, very important, and also pay attention to whether it feels like they're preparing you to go into some type of battle zone or if they're even preparing you to thrive in that role. So that's very, very important. All right. Here's the fourth red flag: no stakeholder support. You need that stakeholder support, guys. project managers, we don't work in isolation. We work as a team. So you need that stakeholder buy-in. So if you ask, for example, who are the key sponsors and how involved are they on this project? And they say, oh, they're supportive, but they're just very busy. You'll probably need to chase them down. That is not support. Can you imagine chasing people down? I understand people are busy, but continuously chasing people down, especially people who make major decisions, is a red flag. That's a future where you're running behind executives, you're begging for decisions while timelines are slipping, and the responsibility will come back to you. And you as a project manager, you're gonna get blamed for delays. So, and strong environment is gonna have, someone who a project that has access to sponsors, clear escalation paths, and also just leaders who actually show up for the project. So if you are interviewing and you start sensing you're expected to run a project with no cover or something like that, that is a red flag. Okay. Fifth, red flag, high turnover. So I always ask, why is the role open? Because maybe if someone went on, paternity or maternity leaves, maybe someone went on sabbatical, maybe they just have a lot of work. So why is the role open? And how long was the last person in this role? If they've had 3 PMs in a year in this specific role, if they laugh awkwardly and say, well, it's been a journey, you need to dig deeper. Turnovers tell a story. Unrealistic expectations again, a lack of leadership support, toxic culture, or simply a project that nobody even wants to touch twice because it just brings a lot of a lot of bad things. So do not ignore this one. Even if you're desperate for the role, guys, it's important because you don't want to, you can get into a situation where you're going to be stressed out. If strong PMs keep leaving, there's a reason behind that. And nothing like maybe job desperation can keep you there because you're going to be stressed out. Okay. All right. Red flag number 6, where they can't answer, what does success look like? Because you keep on asking and they go through so many meandering. And a mature organization knows what success is. You should hear things like, we measure success by stakeholder satisfaction, delivery timelines, and cross-team alignment. But maybe if their response is something like, well, we'll know success when we see it, or we're hoping you come in and define everything. I have no problem in coming in and defining everything, but you need to give me direction. So that means maybe they're not ready. You as a project manager, you can bring in structure, as I said, yes, but you shouldn't be expected to fix vision, strategy, execution all at once. That is a red flag. Okay. All right. The final red flag here is the interview is just feeling off. Just from the time you joined the call, it's just feeling off. This is the red flag people ignore the most, your intuition. Did the interviewer seem disorganized? Did they show up late with no apology? Did they just show up disinterested? Did they try to rush you? Did the energy just feel off or chaotic? Sometimes the environment speaks louder than even the questions itself. So if the interview is stressful, it is disjointed, or gives you some type of uneasy feeling, that's how you know um, something is off. So now that's not being picky for you. That's you just being aware of the environment because you can quickly pick up on energy, right? So what to do when you see this red flag? Let's talk about what you should, especially when you see something is off. Ask follow-up questions. You're allowed to get that clarity. And then number 2, don't talk yourself out of what you've experienced. We love to say, maybe I'm overthinking, maybe it's fine. But your first reaction is usually the truest one. Trust me on that one. All right. And then also remember your power. They're interviewing you. So you're a project manager. Even though you're desperate for the role, you're not that desperate because organizations will always need us. So you owe it to yourself to choose intentionally. All right. So I want you to hear me. You deserve a team that respects your skills because you bring a lot, your boundaries, and your leadership. Interviews are not just about impressing them, right? It's protecting your peace. It's about protecting your career and your future. So if you're preparing for PM interviews and you want support, you want practice, or just a community where you can ask anything, I want you to come and join me in my school community. I also do have a session on December 10th on how to interview like a pro and also how to succeed in your first 90 days as a project manager. I want you to come and join me. Get that information on the show notes because I don't want you to miss out so that you can ask as many questions as you have. Okay, so I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you ace your interviews. And I also want you to make sure that you're paying attention to those red flags because you don't have to figure everything alone from day one. Okay.